Hey guys, and welcome back to Big Dippers. This is part 3, and today is New Year's Day. I hope you have followed my advice from the previous episode and you are hungover as hell, but you had a really good time. If you hosted the house party, I hope they didn't leave too much of a mess. There's been wine and crackers and all sorts everywhere. So, we're cracking on. Big Dipper, part 3. Do I look pretty? Very much so. I'm especially interested in what brand your earrings are. Where did you get them? Found them lying around. How old are you again? It's a secret! Julia burst into laughter. She didn't look like an adult before, but now she was behaving like a mischievous little girl. Will we decorate the tree, or are you going to spend the rest of your life in these boxes? Wait, there's so many cool things in them. Fireworks! A whole box of them. Fireworks? You can't decorate a tree with that. But you can fire them. They're too old, probably past the expiration date. They'll just explode. You're such a what? Skeptic, pessimist, arsehole. It's very nice to meet you. Fireworks have no expiration date. None at all. They spend so much time in that cellar, they're probably wet on the inside, so they definitely won't fire. You're boring me to sleep. No harm in trying, you know? I sighed. Fine, we can try them, but let's do it later, okay? I've brought the tree after all. But there's still so many. Oh, what now? I replied in an unexpectedly rude manner. My voice expressed much more irritation than I actually felt. Julia, who just now was brighter than a full-blown New Year tree, shifted to a dark mood. She looked at me with disappointment and turned away. It's nothing. A lump of guilt was stuck in my throat. I'm genuinely interested. It doesn't matter. What's that? Books? Julia looked at me with doubtful eyes. My childhood photos, books and Grandma's notebooks. Can I take a look? Do you like little girls? What kind of question is that? What'd you take me for? I meant the notebooks. Your grandma was a skilled artist. Oh. Besides, I've already seen plenty of your childhood photos. Pervert. It's not like I asked for it. Pops was just bragging about you. Julia handed me a small leather-bound tome. A sign depicting half of a spruce was inscribed on its front cover. I skimmed through the book. There was a lot of text, but not so much in terms of drawings. It's all handwritten. Looks more like a diary. I'd call it a collection of our land's legends. Grandma did it all by herself. I'll make sure to read it later, alright? Otherwise, we won't be able to decorate our tree in time. I've got everything covered in that regard. Julia took the task as seriously as possible. She was meticulous in picking the toys and where to put them on a tree. She could spend up to 5 minutes placing one. And if that place was too high for her, I would be the one to place it. Oh, not there. But I followed your directions. Put it a bit to the left. Now that's it. By the way, have you ever decorated a New Year tree with your family? Every single year, until Dad passed away. He absolutely loved the winter holidays, so we would always set up the tree in early December and would only get rid of it at the end of January. It was a lot of fun. What was the most fun about it? When I was a kid, Dad would always put me on his shoulder so I could place the star, the main piece of decoration, by myself. I was always horrible at it, and Mum always fixed it, thinking I wouldn't notice. We also shared a hobby with Dad, collecting aircraft models made of wood and plastic. I had a vast collection in my room, from huge to very small, and the tiniest of them we would use as toys for our tree. Mum would make us cheesecakes with hot chocolate, and we would wolf them down while decorating. Mum would make us cheesecakes with hot chocolate. Okay, sounds awesome. And what about you? I mean, from the time you used to live here, we would camp out with Grandpa to get the tree. Camp out? You have plenty of trees in your backyard. Julia's eyes became dreamy. We looked for the finest spruce in the whole forest. That was our goal. Grandma would prepare our backpacks. We even took a tent with us. We traversed the forest for hours, and when we got tired, set up a fireplace and roasted sausages. It felt like a genuine adventure, where I was an explorer, following his guide to an unknown land. We even spent the night under the open sky once. We had too little energy to come back. And what about bears? We met them from time to time, but they never attack us. How in the world? Because of Grandpa. He's Santa! Huh? Does he have some sort of special aura? Something like that. I think he's the forest's guardian. And don't make that face. Read Grandma's book first. Alright. Please continue. When we eventually found the right tree, Grandpa would cut it down, tie it to his back, and we would go home. We always returned really quick. It seemed like magic to me back then, but now I understand that we were just going in circles around the house the whole time. That old trickster. But it was such a grand adventure for me every time. When we arrived home, Grandma would always claim she lost the cellar key, and we went searching for it together. It was a New Year festival designed for me and me alone. They sure loved you a lot. I know, right? And then we decorated the tree together. It was very small, so I could only hand the toys over to Grandpa, just like with you today. I told him where should the toys go, and he would always misplace them. I would always make a fuss about it, and he would pick me up so I could do it myself. Childhood is a magical time. It is. God, I miss being a kid, especially at Christmas. Oh. And one's parents are their personal magicians. Judging by what you told me, the whole family consists of mystic creatures. Hey, stop that. Alright. I think you make a wonderful magician yourself someday. Julia showed me an embarrassed smile and flicked some hair behind her ear. You really think so? I do. I also felt heat rise up in my cheeks. It's a bit embarrassing. Sorry. It's okay. To be honest, it made me a bit happier. And that's it for the tree, I think. You don't seem too happy. We were done too fast. You know, when I have a giant family, I place a huge fluffy tray in the middle of the room and buy a ton of toys, so the decoration process would take up the whole evening until there's no space left on the tree. Sounds like a plan, but how can you be sure your family will be giant? Will you even have a family? Julia shrugged. I just knew it. Pops' power again. Shut up. Sure, we can strip down the tray if you want, or we can stop dilly-dallying and take care of the second floor. Second tree! Do you mind if I turn on the radio? Only if it's not copyrighted music. Do you like music, or am I that boring? Who doesn't like music, freak? Is it just me, or are you dodging the question? I don't really like music, for one. I don't believe you. No, really, check my car radio. There are no saved stations there. And what about the guitar? Not mine. You're the most boring person I've ever met. And a liar. You're hurting my feelings. However, have you actually met that many people in your life? You got me there. Julia scrolled the stations until she stumbled upon one that was playing the holiday tunes. Now that's what I'm talking about. Now that's what I call radio. Now I'll be bored to death accompanied by holiday songs. Hooray! You always keep on grumbling. You must be at least 60 psychologically. And what about you? Around 80? Oh, around 8. 15. Wonderful. Tell me, have you never thought of having a family yourself? I can hardly look after one set of limbs. How can you expect me to take care of kids? I'm like that with goldfish, to be honest with you. Why jump straight to kids? 2 adults can always also be a family. Start with a relationship, maybe? Why do you think I'm not in one at the moment? Just a hunch. Am I wrong? No, but still hurts a fair bit. You're going to celebrate New Year with your mom, after all, not your girlfriend. We all have our reasons. Your house is a bachelor's den. You don't have to live together, do you? And you have a foul character. You're a bit of a shithead. Like you're the one to talk. You're a liar, a bore, you grumble like an old man. Hey, calm down here, young lady. I mean, even that doesn't stop millions of insufferable people around the world to find their partner, and you're still single. Are you, by any chance, homosexual? What the fuck? I'm not, and cut it out already. Do you think gay people can't find themselves a partner? Who knows, maybe you just didn't come out of your closet yet and live in conflict with yourself. I'm just a loner. Let's stop at that. Bloody hell, this is getting deeper than I thought it would be. A girl broke your heart, so you decided to ditch relationships as a whole? I never had a girlfriend. Virgin? Never ever? Never ever. Even at school? At no point in my life. And have you ever thought of having one? Are girls pets to you? I mean, it's not that I don't like the prospect, it's just I haven't met the right one. Yet. The right one for your standards? The right one for me. What about you? Is your fiancé waiting in Orenburg? I'm not that different from you in that regard. I've never had a boyfriend. Even at school? Don't be mean. I hardly attended school, so yeah, even there. Why? Well, Grandma homeschooled me when I was living here, so I started going to a normal school when I was 13 after my parents took me back. I was expelled after a couple of weeks. Are you joking? I wish I was. This sounds like an interesting story to hear. I nodded off in geography class. They don't expel you for that. While I was asleep, my body went out the window. The classroom was on the 2nd floor. I fell and broke my leg, but even that didn't wake me up. I walked 2 bus stops worth of distance before my parents found me. I stared at Julia in horror and disbelief. That's exactly the same look my teacher gave me back then. I'd spent a month in hospital with a broken leg, and the principal kindly asked my parents to not send me back to school. The staff didn't exactly know what to do in situations like that and so on. How about lock the window? I was also apparently a bad influence on my classmates and should have been sent to a school for deviants. I continued homeschooling, but from that point on, I was taught by strangers. Everybody was probably worried sick about you. I can imagine how it looked. A schoolgirl in a tattered uniform walking down the street dragging a broken foot with a blank look in her eyes, like something out of a zombie movie. I can understand what they felt, but it's still painful. I mean, his broken ankle, it really hurt. After I moved away from Grandpa, my only hope was to be able to go to school like everybody else. I expected to make friends, to exchange little messages with them in class, to hang out after school, to go capming or watch movies together, to gossip about boys and have sleepovers. Maybe I would even get my first love letter there, and they would ask me for a prom dance, and maybe I'll even have my first kiss. It feels weird to talk about that now. It's all in the past, but I can't shake off the thought that I've missed something really important, something I won't have a second chance at in my life. Well, there's no guarantee everything would have gone according to your plan anyways. I don't have any warm memories of my classmates, even though I've spent good 11 years with them. And the girls, you know, they can be even scarier than the boys. Completely agree with that. They're extremely jealous. They ruin your life without flinching just because you're smarter or more well-liked by boys. Maybe it's a blessing you avoided all of that. It's better to regret something you've done than to regret something you'd wished you'd done. A cheerful jingle changed to a slow dance tune. Wanna dance? Oh, she's getting a prom dance! The word slipped out of my mouth before I could think. What did I just say now? Why? I wanted to disappear from embarrassment. My cheeks were so hot you could probably fry stuff on them. I do. Her face was as red as mine. I bet we'd both feel much more relaxed if I just ran into the forest. And didn't come back. Ever. Aww! I held out my hand. It was shaking so hard it was almost uncontrollable. Julia didn't seem scared or confused. She gently touched the palm of my hand and the shaking subdued. I hope you won't regret that. It was my first time being this intimate with a girl who was so close I could make out every single hair on her head. Julia didn't look up at me, but I could feel the warmth coming from her face. See? You don't need to go to school to have your prom dance. Yeah. And it's not the only place to look for friends. My voice was unnaturally low and silent. Julia was also speaking quietly, but I could hear her every word. That's why you're friends with an old hermit? I just turned out that way. We're both not the most experienced in the matter, but you should know, it's hard to find friends when your most important person. I bet a lot of guys would love to go out with you. You're rather beautiful. You're not ugly yourself. Well, thank you. But that's not it. What do you mean? We're not looking for people who need us. We're looking for the ones we need. It makes no difference if someone is interested in you when the feeling isn't mutual. Many would argue with that. But you won't. The aroma wafting from her hair made me feel a bit dizzy. Aww. I miraculously avoided stepping on Julia's feet, a dazzling success for my first time dancing. It felt like we moved around the same spot for eternity, and I'd love to do it some more, if only I hadn't discovered that song was long over, and with it, the ephemeral atmosphere of sincerity. Oh, this is cute! We exchanged awkward glances and got back to decorating the room. After finishing with that, we returned to the first floor. Julie went straight to the fridge and poked her head inside like she owned the place. Well, it's not that much. Well, it's not much. Aren't you expecting guests? Just a single guest. She's not coming here to have a cup of tea, you know. It's not like you have anything to go with tea anyways. And I think you just don't know how much a normal person eats. Cheapskate. Where'd you get that from? And there's enough to feed 8 people there. Alright, I'll think of something. Just don't disturb me. I gladly promised I won't interrupt her or even go inside the kitchen while she cooks. Again, it's not like it's my house. What was I supposed to do in the meantime? I thought of working, but quickly decided against the idea. It would be wasteful to disturb the order of my workplace. I grabbed the book with the Tales of the North instead. This book is a collection of stories on existing creatures. The mediator is to be tasked with refreshing the knowledge every 50 years. Isn't it a bit too serious for a preface? Did you say something? Do you know who the mediator is? No, what about it? Nothing, I was just curious. The first creature in the book was the forest witch, Yoma, or Joma, living in a hut deep inside the forest. She used to eat human children, but the great Osh later prohibited that, threatening to drive her out the woods. The witch reluctantly agreed and started catching beasts and birds to use their blood and vitality potions to prolong her life. There was a drawing depicting a slim, tall lady with a very keen look. Her age was impossible to identify. Your witch looks almost like Baba Yaga, a lot more beautiful though. Like who? Baba Yaga, you know, the crone who lives in a hut on chicken legs. What's that nonsense? Julia looked at me like I was an idiot. Come on, she's from a classic fairy tale. Have you really never heard of her? Was I supposed to? Parents scare their children with her all the time. Mine only told me of the forest witch. I have a couple of questions for your grandpa then, but I can understand why you feared her so much. This stare would make the blood freeze in one's veins. And we have your grandma to thank for that. Drawing her in such a way was completely unnecessary. The witch was even scarier in the old version. The old version? Grandma didn't make up these stories. She took them from another book. It was quite battered, so she decided to rewrite it. I flipped through a couple more pages. Leshy and Domovoy were continuing the list, but I already knew of them thanks to Slavic folklore, so I put the book away. You can't seriously believe in all of that. Have you read the part about the forest spirit? The household one or the water one? About Osh. I've decided to leave that magnificent experience for later. Well, it's your loss. By the way, which salad should I make? The green leafy kind? Why even make them? I don't eat salads. Then why have you brought the vegetables? I eat them raw. They're more useful that way. Ugh. You eat them raw because you're bad at cooking. As you wish. And you can't only be thinking about yourself. What if your mom likes salads? Does she? I don't know. I don't remember. Ask about your grandpa though, and I'll answer right away. It's just he's my grandpa, not yours. And don't forget you've promised to tell me everything about him. I don't even know how you met each other. You didn't ask? I'm asking now. You picked me off the street. Saved me from starvation. I thought you found yourself a decent job after you'd left home. True. When work ran out in one place, I would get reassigned to another town, and then to another one, and so on. I had visited half the country, and then I got here. I was promised bad living conditions and good pay, but I was given neither, and as soon as I got here, the facility went under and a lot of people were left without a job. Local folk knew their way around here and was fast to find new jobs, but strangers like me had no place to turn to. I had been renting an apartment for some time, looking for a job. And then I found my suitcase before the door. It turned out that my landlady was renting my apartment to her wandering son, and well, he came back. I got my suitcase, but all of my money stayed in his pockets. Ooh. It's quite ironic. Was I to keep my job then? I would have been among these woodcutters. Nothing ironic about it. What happened next? Did Grandpa find you then? Almost. I spent a whole day in a bus stop. I was exhausted. Thought the whole world turned against me. I was in this cold land without a job, without a place to live, without any money. I gave up. But the cold was too strong, so when the night fell, I started looking for ways to warm myself. I burned random trash and my own belongings. It helped, but not for long. When I ran out of things to burn, I stumbled upon Pop's workshop. Jesus Christ! I didn't care if what I did was right or wrong. I simply broke in, and Pops found me in the morning, lying on the floor near the fireplace. He gave me two options. Either he reports me to the police and they take me to a place where they feed you with cow poo-poo, as he puts it, or he teaches me his craft and I help him out around the workshop. I gave my answer almost immediately. Grandpa amazes me more and more. Does he remind you of that incident regularly? He never once did, actually. I couldn't understand why he gave me a chance in the first place. Every time I asked him, he waved me away and told me that I should just live my life and don't sweat the small stuff. We drank together once and he went overboard, so much he could hardly sit upright. Pops probably doesn't remember this, but before he knocked himself out, he managed to say that he was very happy to find me in the smoking area that morning. I didn't pry anymore. We're very similar in that regard. It's hard for us to share our real problems. Well, now I can understand some things without words, at least. I think you're a very good person. Hey, you crying? It's the onion. It's the onion. Come on, cut it out. Julia staggered and used the table for support. What's wrong? You alright? Yes, just feel a bit drowsy. Maybe you should lie down. I'm fine, don't worry. Well, okay. Tell me more about Grandpa. I had to bail him out of jail once. He somehow thought it'd be a good idea to wander around a mosque in a Santa Claus costume on New Year's Eve. Okay, that's a bit random. I churned out one story after another while Julia was cooking, and as it turned out, my life became much more lively over the last couple of years, all thanks to Pops, who would laugh at getting his tooth beaten out or at the dove droppings on his truck's windshield. He always stayed positive and managed to cheer me up. Sometimes it was almost like he could read my thoughts. That's how good he was at understanding me. I, on the other hand, only knew the things he deemed worthy of telling me, and these things mostly had to do with his granddaughter. The rare moments of sincerity always came in his drunken slumber. They were always unexpected, and I didn't know how to react. Julia listened closely, like she relived every story with me, and when I got tired of monologuing, she spoke up. So, what's up with the guitar? Is it yours? Uh-huh. Then whose, if it's not yours or Grandpa's? You have no other friends, after all. Don't touch my sore spot. It makes it pops then. Don't lie, he never even played a music instrument. It's impossible to hide anything from you. I'd love to hear you play. I haven't touched it in a while, so... Your choice, the guitar or the potatoes. I mean, if you can play a tune on a potato, I'd be completely ecstatic. Potatoes, even if it involves eating them. Peeling. Give me just a moment. I picked up the guitar, blew off the dust, tugged on the strings, fiddled with tuning keys, did everything to waste time. I didn't want to make a fool of myself before Julia. Come on, play. Oh, this is so sweet. I pressed down the strings and my thumbs screamed from pain. Blisters from regular practice were already long gone, so it hurts like the first time. I tried to keep it simple and just plucked at the strings, but that was enough for Julia. She relaxed and swayed with the melody, mumbling something under her nose. I was calm for the first time in a while. I felt her eyes on me from time to time, but when I looked up, she was doing her own thing without looking my way. The house was filled with the scent of boiled potatoes and fried chicken, the scent of my childhood New Year's days. Julia noticed me sniffing around. Let me introduce you. That's the smell of edible food. It's very nice to meet you, edible food. Saliva filled my mouth. I suddenly remembered that I haven't eaten for a very long time. The hunger went away for a while because of recent events, but it was slowly coming back now. Julia was keen for my interest. Wait for a bit. Your mom will arrive soon. You'll share this meal with her. Did you learn cooking by yourself? Grandma taught me. Tell me something about her. Pops keeps his mouth shut all the time. She was cool and could seemingly do everything. She could cook, draw, sing. And how did she meet Pops? Oh, it's a funny story. Grandpa worked as a driver. One day he was tasked with driving a mayor's daughter to another city. And this daughter was your grandma? Yes. Grandpa suddenly stopped the engine during the trip. Well, he said, it just broke down. Polar night, not a single soul in the vicinity, horrible cold. Grandma panicked and he just replied with, the labourers will drive by in the morning. They'll pick us up. But we have to keep ourselves warm, and if we fall asleep, we'll freeze to death. So they just sat there all night, talking, and come morning, he told her that the car was absolutely fine. Grandma complained to her father after it was over, and he didn't have to think twice, just use his connections to throw Grandpa in jail. But Grandma took a liking to the driver, so she begged her father to release him. Jesus Christ. It's called Stockholm Syndrome. Don't act so smart. And did they release Pops? Not immediately. I mean, they beat him a little bit. The father told her that she would need to ask him once more in 2 months. Then he'll do it. Sounds legit. Of course, Grandma came back in 2 months with the same request. And then they built this house and lived here together until Grandma died. Knowing Pops, the story is quite easy to believe, but I still don't get why he keeps on getting in trouble all the time. How does he think these things up? I mean, does he ever hesitate? He certainly didn't hesitate that time. He knew it would happen because he'd seen it in a dream. He knew that he's destined to meet a girl he would love till the end of his days, and he always knew that no harm would come from him stopping the engine. He knew that it was necessary to spend a couple of months in jail and that the girl would bail him out. He knew everything. You can't take dreams that seriously. You just haven't seen the prophetic dreams. You're romanticising it. Julia kept on swaying and almost fell. Good thing the fridge was behind her. What's wrong? I don't feel so good. Tired? Don't know. Here, sit. Uh-oh. I checked the oven and led Julia by the hand towards the sofa. I'm so dizzy. A gust of wind shook the windows. And there's the promised blizzard. Are you an old lady reacting to weather like that? I'm not sure. It feels like all the strength just left my body. Hey, keep it together, please. What would I say to Pops? I need to rest for a bit. Get a wink of sleep. I sat on the floor beside the fireplace. Sure, what was the thing I needed to read about? Osh, the forest spirit. Okay. I found the right page without trouble. Its entry was much larger compared to other creatures. For some reason, I started reading it aloud. Osh is the forest guardian spirit in the form of a bear. In ancient times, he, the son of god Ina, disobeyed his father and descended upon earth, tempted by local food and women. As a punishment, Ina forbade him to ever return to the heavens, and Osh settled down in the forest, where the things to feast on were plentiful. By taking human form, he could visit villages to get food. Once in a century, he picked a woman and took her to the forest. One night, under the full moon, was enough to bind his chosen to Osh, so she would guard the northern forests alongside him. Osh knows the animal language, can see the future, and wields healing magic. Some of his abilities can be passed down to his children. Nowadays, Osh lies in endless slumber, guarding the entrance to the Shadow Realm. However, the forest is never left unguarded. At the start of every cycle, the bear marks a new guardian with the forest spirit, and they keep watch until they're no longer capable of it. Until they're no longer capable. Sounds like a job without pay that you can't ditch. And why do you think that Pops is the said guardian? He can see the future, and if it wasn't him who stood up for the forest 10 years ago, then who? Besides, his and Grandma's stories? That's just something you really want to believe in. I'll admit, there are a lot of coincidences, almost enough to convince me. Seriously. And you only believe in what you see, don't you? I guess so. Then we just have to visit that place. Julia let out a big yawn. Should go there and see for ourselves. You can hardly keep your eyes open. I'll just lie down for 10 minutes and I'll be as good as new. Without realising it, Julia reduced her voice into a whisper. Sleep until Pops gets here. But I don't want to. She acted like a spoiled kid. As you wish, I'll go get you a blanket. Oh, I went upstairs. Something's gonna happen. Having someone to take care of was unexpectedly pleasant. There hadn't been a single soul in this house apart from me for a good while, and I was sure that I had no need for company, but Julia's appearance did not bring any discomfort into my life. Quite the contrary. It was hard to imagine living without her, and to think Pops will take her away so soon. I wanted the time to stop. I'd love to play the guitar for her, while she would be dancing and singing along. I'd talk to her about anything in the world. We'd decorate the tree together again. I'd read her books. I concluded that letting her go was an awful idea, and perhaps asking her and Pops to join the celebration would be a better one. The more the merrier, and that would surely make the atmosphere less awkward between me and Mom. Though they certainly deserved their fair share of time and privacy. And I should also have a tete-for-tete conversation with Mom. Probably. She's not going to be there. I went back downstairs to ask Julia if she wanted to stay, since she cooked enough for a platoon of hungry soldiers, and you couldn't possibly eat that much with just 2 people. But she was not there. She was neither beside the fireplace, nor was she in the kitchen. There weren't many places where we could miss each other in this house. She was gone. The blanket was lying on the floor, and her outside clothes were where she left them. Oh no! I grabbed my coat and ran outside. The wind was so strong it made me stagger, and my face and neck were tingling from the cold. There were barely recognisable footprints in the snow, and I rushed after them before they would be completely covered with snow. The problem was, I couldn't see Julia anywhere. Where could she go in such weather without her warm clothes? Then it hit me. Another fit of sleepwalking. But even then, why the hell would she venture into the forest late at night if her initial goal was to get here? The farther I got from the house, the harder it became to see the prints. It might have been due to dim lighting, but they started looking almost inhuman at some point. What if I had already lost track of her and was following some beast instead? She's a bear! After a couple more meters, the prints vanished altogether. I continued at random, scooping up snow with boots and drowning in the snow. She'd freeze to death if I didn't find her. The forest creaked. I thought that woodcutters were supposed to be in another direction, but the creaking of fallen trees was echoing from everywhere. Howling cries could also be heard nearby. Wolves. Wolves always move in packs. I sped up. My fingers were red and it was hard to move them. I couldn't even unclench my fists. I swung my hands all over the place to keep the little warmth still left in my body, but it only made things worse. It was hard to tell how far I went from the house, but I couldn't return there alone, without Julia. When I was ready to cross the road and search on the other side, I felt a push to the chest. I looked around, but couldn't see anything. My vision went completely dark. There's things, the symbols. Some sort of sigil burned up right before my eyes. It took me a moment to process. The sigil was carved into the tree. A chain reaction followed, and all the surrounding trees lit up at the same time. Another moment, and the night sky was shining with waves of light. It was as bright as daylight. I didn't have time to think, so I sprinted into the depths of the forest, following the chain of lighting up trees. My legs were barely moving, and at some point, I felt like they were glued to the ground. A howl! Resounding, earth-shaking howl. I was paralysed. It was difficult to even breathe. One moment, my heart was pounding due to fear. The next, it stopped beating for a couple of seconds. Every heartbeat was pulsating in my head. I was just standing there, unable to take a step forward. I wanted to run. I wanted to get away from the forest. My survival instincts screamed that it was the only right choice. And only thoughts of Julia made me stand still. She was there somewhere. She's probably very cold in a place swarming with wolves, bears, and God knows what else. She needed me. Pops' voice echoed in my head. If you bear no ill will, you have nothing to fear. As if it was my permission to move, I made a step forward, again and again. I battled against snow and wind while blurry shadows moved around at the edge of my vision. One of them was especially slim and horrifying. I felt the keen eyes of its owner on my back. I was finally able to get into some sort of clearing. Julia was there. She stood among the marked trees, her back turned to me. Her head limped to the side, and I was able to see her face, a pair of eyes shining with ominous, otherworldly light. Holy shit! Julia's body floated upwards, as if she was a puppet, and someone was pulling her strings. The sky was pulsating. My eyes hurt as if I was looking at the sun for a long time. Excuse you. Her arms spread aside, and another howl hit my ears, much harder than last time, as if waiting for a signal, a flock of ravens shot into the sky. I didn't know if my blind eyes were deceived by the changing colours or by the dark stains, but I saw the form of a bear towering over the forest, instilling awe and fear. I sat in the snow, motionless and empty. I didn't feel cold or fear. I couldn't feel the passage of time. My eyes were glued to the painfully pulsating sky and Julia's hair floating in the wind. I could hear the chains clanging and fearful voices coming from the road. Woodcutters were fleeing the forest en masse. There's going to be another commotion in town tomorrow, and all the newspapers will write about the spirit of the forest. The spirit that was right before my eyes. The bear's form suddenly became clearer, and I was able to make out fur on its giant paws, along with incredibly long claws. They're gone. My voice was barely audible, but that gave me just enough confidence. They're gone, so leave it be. The bear turned its head towards me. Please. It just stood there for some time. I couldn't reliably tell if it looked at me, or if it was checking if the wood-cutting machines were really gone. Then it howled for the third time, and finally the sky lit up with all sorts of colours once more. I went completely blind for a good minute. When my sight returned, I was standing in the middle of darkness. The aurora was nowhere to be seen. A full moon and a myriad of stars were decorating the sky. The tree sigils were all gone without a trace. Julia was lying in the snow. I rushed to her side. My hands were completely numb, so I pressed my lips against her forehead instead. Freezing cold. For a split second, it seemed that she was lost forever. Then she gently grabbed my sleeve and whispered, "It's so cold." I picked her up and ran towards the road without thinking. It was better than drowning in snow again. I didn't feel the weight in my hands. I didn't feel fatigue or the wind. All I could think of was that Julia was cold, that she would freeze to death. "Run, boy, run!" I didn't have the time to feel pain. I couldn't remember how far I went and how I was able to find my house. I came back to my senses only by the time I put Julia on the couch and covered her with a blanket. Here, beside the fireplace, I was finally able to feel all the cells in my body again. They were all screaming for help, and that scream was so intense that I wanted to join them until the pain would be gone. Aww. Julia looked ghastly, her face pale, her lips blue. She was hardly breathing. Her cheeks took a long while to regain their pinkiness. I crashed to the floor by her side, in hopes that my limbs would return to form faster that way. When Julia was asleep, she didn't look like an adult at all. There was a little girl that didn't want to go to sleep in her nest and listen to the howling wind and the clang of a hammer instead. What would have happened if I didn't find her? How much time had passed? What's up with this forest? What were those ruins? I thought before that Julia was sleepwalking because she wanted to come back home and see her grandpa, but now I was sure it had to do with the forest's guardian. But it only spawned more questions. My head was spinning. That shadow following me in the forest. Who did it belong to? If the spirit of the forest existed, does the same apply to the water sprites, or house spirits, or the forest witch? Why, if the forest needed a guardian, it didn't pick someone actually living here? Me? Why Julia, who was thousands of kilometres away? My thoughts interrupted each other, expanded, got louder and louder, until Julia groaned weakly. Hey, are you awake? How long was it gone? I'm so sorry. How did you feel? I feel a bit strange, but why do you ask? What's the time? It's already past 11. Oh no, why didn't you wake me up? I was too busy with something. My head is swimming. I saw such a terrible nightmare. It wasn't the first time, but it was much weaker before. And what was your nightmare about? I was there with Grandma. She was leading me through the forest by the hand. There was an aurora borealis. And also you. Such a weird dream. Yeah, sometimes you see the strangest things in there. The forest witch was there as well. Did she scare you? No, she wasn't trying to harm me. Rather, she wanted to help. Was there anyone else? I didn't know. Maybe those eyes were just a fruit of my imagination. I could only see the bear and Julia because of my temporary blindness. I decided to keep what happened a secret from her, for now at least. I wouldn't have believed it if I was told something like that. She also needed to rest. Did anybody come? I shook my head. They should have been here long ago. We have to call them. What if something happened on the way here? I'll do it right away. Are you sure you're alright? Yeah, just a bit hungry. smirked and went outside. Oh, don't do this. This is how she disappeared the last time. The wind disappeared as quickly as it started. The air was still. The snowflakes, it seemed, could dance through it endlessly without touching the ground. It was warm. I had an unread message from my mom, a familiar car plate number belonging to her supposed driver. Everything clicked. You old bastard. I dialed Mom's number. She answered almost immediately. I already knew the answer to my question, yet I couldn't help but ask. Where are you? I'm really sorry, but it seems like I won't make it. We're stuck in the middle of the forest, and I think it'll take a while. The car sank in the snow. We've called for an evacuation vehicle, but who knows how long it will take them. It's New Year's Eve after all. I felt a yoke tightening on my neck, a yoke I was quite eager to get into, to be honest. Are you okay? Yeah, don't worry. The heater's running and I'm in my winter clothes. I also have some hot coffee and good company to go alongside it. Yeah, right. Julia poked her dishevelled head from the doorway. Can we have dinner? I'm dying from hunger. My stomach growled in confirmation. Made a, yeah, sure, but I'm still a bit busy here gesture with my head. Julia nodded understandingly and went back. Do you have a female guest? Something like that. She has a sweet voice. Can you try to explain your location? I'll go pick you up. It's unnecessary. I don't know my way around here at all, and we've already called for the evacuation team. It would be really awkward if it arrived here and we were gone. I can at least pick you up. Seriously, drop it. Spend the evening with your guest. Me and you, we'll have plenty of time later. I didn't reply. I had no desire to press any further, but I didn't want to leave her in the forest either. Is she a good girl? Seems like it. I'm glad. A moment of awkward silence followed. Well then. Hey Mom. Huh? Do you like salads? Do you like vegetables? We'd been talking for roughly 20 minutes. I realised that only when I looked at the watch. Julia sprung up when I came back. What took you so long? Did you talk to Grandpa? Nope, I only talked to Mom. You've been talking to her the whole time? Yeah. And? Everything's fine. She squinted and looked at me straight in the eye. I'm serious. That's wonderful then. I could only shrug to that. I guess. When will she come? She's not coming. What? But... Don't even ask. Everything's fine, but she's not coming tonight. Okay, we still have to call Grandpa. He's not coming as well. Julia fell silent. Confusion flashed through her face at first, but then came enlightenment and embarrassment. Great. It seemed like I wouldn't need to explain anything. Tick-tock, tick-tock. The wall clock reminded us of the time. It's almost 12. And we still haven't had dinner. Sorry about that. It smells delicious. She proudly puffed out her chest. I know. Too bad we won't be able to taste every dish. Why? Fireworks. Or did you forget your promise? Right now? Julia nodded. She was quite serious about it. Just don't expect too much. They're pretty old. I grabbed the pack of fireworks and Julia took glasses and a bottle of champagne. Champagne! We went outside. The tray tops were engulfed by moonlight. A full moon. After that spectacle of light in the forest, the stories from her grandmother's book didn't seem comical at all. They sure resembled fairy tales, but now I myself took part in it. I've already forgotten how beautiful this place can be. You can even see all these stars. How much till 12? 1 minute. I was destined to be madly in love with this girl, and I was happy that I decided that before the bear magic made that choice for me. Bear magic. Go! I placed the fireworks into the snow, lit up the fuse with trembling hands, and returned to Julia, fumbling through the snow piles. She handed me a glass of champagne. I'm so glad to share this moment with you. I looked at her completely speechless, her cheeks flushed from my intense stare. I was so lucky to meet her. No matter how long we knew each other, she'd still be as cute, smart and bright, as loving towards her grandpa and the winter holidays. I never imagined my future, couldn't see myself surrounded by family, but all of that was so easy with her around. Almost too easy. I only needed to close my eyes to picture our future kids and our dog. Evenings we'd spend beside the fireplace, walks in the woods, Mom and Julia sharing their women's secrets, and Pops coming to see his great-grandchildren. All of that came to mind. As well as a giant tree we'd spend hours decorating, taking breaks for hot chocolate and cookies. I saw her smile, and for that last part, I didn't even need to close my eyes. I wanted to look at it forever. And if this ancient firework will go off, if there's going to be at least one little spark, a loud clap rang out. A fiery rocket sprang into the sky and shattered into a million bright pieces. I could see every single one of them in Julia's eyes. Come on, make a wish! I didn't have to think for long. If there was a single person that would enter my world and stay there forever, it should be her. A granddaughter of a weird old man, cute and funny bear girl with a bottomless stomach. I gulped my champagne in one go. Stay with me. Julia blinked in surprise, and I used that opportunity to draw close and steal a kiss from her. Yay! This was the brightest day of my life, and if every day after this would be the same, if I would be able to see her smile, I'd love to relive this life a million times. Our lips didn't part until the last flash left the charred fireworks box. Please stay with me, at any cost. I kept kissing her until the red and green sparks no longer lightened the sky. And when she was finally able to catch her breath, I heard her whisper, "Of course." Aww. Oh, that was lovely. Oh, I really liked that. Santa Claus. He's Santa Claus. Anyway, that was Big Dipper. That was a really nice, cute little story. I think it was only about an hour and a half long. Yeah, about 3 parts. And yeah, it's fitting in quite nice for New Year's. Nice New Year's little touch. Oh, and also as well the quality of this, because sometimes when you get, you know, visual novels like this in games, you tend to have like the same picture, the same person showing up all the time. You don't actually get to see the main character who you were supposed to be in it. Whereas they have clearly put a lot of time in it. They've got all these drawings. They had the actual animation of the snow as things were going on. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year! They added in like the Christmas tree lights and stuff, and oh, they put a lot of time into it, and you could tell. Oh, we're gonna get an epilogue. Gonna get an epilogue. I missed you so much. I want to ask so many things. You'll have plenty of time, lass. The most important part is that you're nearby. We'll meet soon. Yes, but... I just can't wrap my head around it. Why did you sell the house? And what's wrong with that? It's our house. You told me our family would live there for centuries to come. Remember how you told me that I would raise my children and grandchildren here? I do. Then why? Happy New Year, Julia, my girl. Oh, Finn. Oh, I really like that. See, it's little touches like that, the epilogue and stuff, and oh, I'm so glad I played that. Because I knew it would be a little bit longer, but I thought it's kind of got like a New Year's mention in the description, so I thought it would be nice to kind of put it in New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. And yeah, I'm quite glad I did it now. Oh, I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I did. If you have, then please leave a like, drop a comment down below, subscribe for some new content, and have a happy New Year's. I hope 2020 will be a fantastic year for you. I hope you've made some plausible New Year's resolutions. Nothing too big, nothing too grand. Thank you very much, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care. Bye.